Hey guys, Brandon here. Today we're here to talk about one of the most misunderstood amps of the last couple of years, at least in my opinion, the Bogner Uber Ultra. So a lot of that online criticism comes from guys that own the old Uber Shawls, and I kind of understand where they're coming from on it, but I'm just full disclosure, I really like this amp. It's a badass amp. It's angry. Anyway, so where the criticism comes from is that the old Uberschall's, the presence knob works like a sweep knob. The new Uberschall, it's locked in and it works like a traditional presence knob. So with the old Uberschalls, you're cranking that thing up, 3/4 all the way, and it radically changes the way the amp sounds. It goes from being this dark thing to just this crushing amp that sounds kind of like a Recto and a Marshall blended together and just gives you this killer mid-range and crazy lows without really being harsh. A lot of the old criticisms for the original Uberschall is guys setting them at noon and being like, why the hell is this amp so dark? It doesn't cut. It doesn't get through at all. And yeah, that's the trick to it if you ever stumble across an old Uberschall. So that's how you get them sounding good. Anyway, so this thing, presence knob doesn't work like that. And then the presence knob has a couple different modes, which just shapes the high end of it. Two of the modes are kind of like not really usable to me. Like, it just doesn't sound good to my ears. That's my opinion. So I set it at the hair mode and I just kind of leave it there. It sits there all the time. Other thing is the density knob. This thing confuses the hell out of people. So what the density knob is a negative feedback control. Crank it to the right, it's like the old Uberschall. Crank it to the left, and there goes my phone ringing. Crank it to the left, and you're going to get more of an open response. So guys are wanting it to sound like a new old Uberschall. Crank it all the way to the left. They're like, why isn't this sounding like that dark, girthy, whatever? And then why, when I turn it to the right, it's almost too dark, the volume's turning down? Well, you got to compensate with the volume and everything else. So what we'll do here is I will go through the knobs, talk it out, play, dial these things in the way I like. Well, I already have them dialed in the way I like, but we'll start there and then mess with the controls, explain them, and then we'll get out of here. Anyway, the setup here is the Uber Ultra is going into my St. Rock React IR, which is playing a T75 IR that I created from this cab right here. I got babies here, man. I can't crank it all the time. It is what it is. The IR is free, so if you guys want to download it, check it out. I think it sounds pretty dang good, and it totally is metal. So if you like the content, subscribe. I'm going to get to dialing this thing in. I'm going to pan out so you guys can see what I'm actually doing to the amp and zoom in right up close to that. All right, thanks. All right, guys, so we'll start here with how I have this thing dialed in. On the first channel in the Uber mode with the boost engaged, you're welcome. Found a post-it note to put over that bright light so it's not blinding us while you're looking at this. So let's get this going. So that sounds crushing, if you ask me. So let's go ahead and look through these knobs. So we have our difference presence controls. So I'm going to have to compensate with volume here just as we do this. So you can hear this guy. So the Uber one's the one that kicks up. So as you can hear, like each one you toggle over, it gets like a little bit less. So we'll turn it up a little bit in the Uber mode. between each of the modes, it darkens it up a little bit. You hear the hair plus versus the hair. So it's in hair plus right now. Hair. So if you ask me, I like the hair mode the most. Your mileage will vary. Everyone likes their own deal, but that's it to me. Depth, like I said, you turn it all the way to the right if you want the old Uberschall sound, but you're going to get a little bit of darkening with the amp with that. I have it backed off just a little bit. Let's hear that. So that one's going to depend, like, truly, like, if you're in the room by yourself, like, cranking that depth knob up is going to sound badass. It just will. When you're playing through a mix, other instruments and all that, like, you're going to want to back it off just a little bit, because too much of that low end, like, if I'm ever using an Uberschall in a mix, I definitely high pass it, so cut the low end off quite a bit. Still leave it in there because it's important, but I'm not going to just like totally rock all that because it's just going to get lost. So let's hear that again. All right, let's look at the one that gets everybody stumped, the density knob. So if you want to like the old original stuff, you're going to crank it up all the way, which is going to give you all of that negative feedback. So obviously you got to compensate with volume, like with that. So let's hear that. So yeah, as long as you are able to compensate that volume knob and pay attention to that, like it sounds great, cranked all the way. So, I mean, you just got to be mindful that it's kind of difficult to go back and forth, obviously, with you guys sitting here because having to crank up multiple things, we can just hear that one more time. Sorry, been cranking a lot of Decapitated lately. All right, let's set that back. Try to avoid clipping on that. so obviously this is the first channel in the Uber mode. To me, this does sound more like the old Ubershaw, but with the built-in boost on it, like it takes it great. Whereas the original Ubers, boosts are a little finicky with them, like just being honest. So let's turn that boost off and on. So quite a bit of a difference there, but you can compensate with it with gain. Like, that sounds great to me. So that's responds how an old Ubershaw would. It doesn't sound the same in the frequency spectrum, like I said, because of the whole sweep knob thing and that changing things up. But to me, like with the gain, you know, depending which Uber you have, because some of them, the gain starts out super hot. The other ones, it tapers up. Sounds pretty good. Sounds super low to me. The bright cap, I don't ever engage just because it comes too much for me. We'll hear that real quick. Man, I don't know what I like more actually, with the gain cranked or with the boost engaged and it backed off. All right, I messed with some of the other EQ knobs. Now, unlike the original Uber, as I've said many times in this video, it does not respond like that. It responds like a typical EQ section would. So let's hear that. Honestly, that right there with those settings sounds pretty close to an original Uber to me. Has the girthy low end, but it's still kind of chewy at the same time. Sounds killer, a lot of fun to play. It does sound like it there. Sorry, getting a little lost in it for a second there. Let's keep going. Like, that would be too much for me. I'd never do that. All right, let's mess with the mids. So as you can hear, it can get crazy, crazy scooped. Messing with my down picking. All right, here's the low end. Like, dialing that back, I don't even know why you're playing an Ubershaw if you crank that way back. These amps are just meant to be like a little bit bass heavy, but just so punch you in your face so hard. All right. All right, let's switch over to the next channel. I mean, I don't think you guys really want to hear the cleans or the crunch, so we're going to skip over that. So right here, we have it in the ultra mode, which is the ultra mode. Going to be ultra gainy here. And let's hear what this sounds like. You know, so to me, right out of the gate, like these are kind of how I have these set up. I do like the first channel, Uber more. It just kind of reminds me of the original a little more, but it does have its own thing going on. Let's keep messing with this. There it is. All right, got to crank that metamorph knob. So what the metamorph knob does, it's a high pass filter, so it cuts the low end off depending on which way you have it set. So if you have it set to the tight mode like I do right now, you add more low end by turning it to the right. If it's the fat mode, you tighten things up by doing the same thing. Like it just depends where you have it set, like clockwise, counterclockwise, and then it works to that effect. That sounds super nasty to me, and you can't get that tone with an original Ubershaw. So to me, like, you can get close to those tones of the original Ubershaw, but then you have your own thing going on here, which, I mean, this amp is great bang for your buck, especially now that they're showing up used on the market. Like, killer amp. Let's go over to the treble a little bit. Like, that is absolute max for me. Wouldn't really touch that. Like, that's probably more where I'd live. Hear the mids. I like scoop sounds, so that there is about perfect to me. So gain on here, ultra mode. You have, I believe, 7 gain stages, so things can get out of hand real quick. Don't boost this channel. Well, unless you're a madman, you could do that. Let's hear that. Like, that's too much for me. You can hear the noise starting to kick in there. Right about there. All right, so you got a couple other knobs over here. There's crunch and uber, obviously, which you do have on the first channel. They're slightly varied here. I'll just switch it over to uber so you can hear it. And the reason it's varied is because you have that metamorph knob into the circuit now, so you can boost this one too. To me, though, like if you want to have this amp have different settings and all that, like I would run the second channel in the ultra mode. That's just what I would do. And that is what I do. So look at the tight and the fat. Like I said, that's just going to change where you have the metamorph knob set, like which setting and the tightness that you want on it. It's going to vary depending which one you put. Then to the right of that, you have Doom, Focus, and Bright. Just straight away, Bright's too much for me. It's not my deal. So let's check over. I have it in focus mode now. Let's go back over to Ultra, because that's what we're here for, right? Switch it over to Doom, and it dooms all of a sudden. Focus again. Okay, Bright. Yeah, that to me is like unusable. Focus. Go back over to the other channel so you guys can hear that just back and forth. So you can hear straight away. Channel 1 definitely does sound a little more like the old Uber. Channel 2, its own thing. Depending on what you're recording here, like if you're into the modern metal thing, yeah, use that Channel 2 Ultra mode and it'll get the job done. If you want more of that classic, to me, just classic Uberschall tone, can't talk, stick with Channel 1, run it in the Uber mode. Depending on what you want, crank the gain up for more girth and low end, or pull it back and dial in the boost. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for the day. Hope you learned a couple things about this amp. check them out, try them. Like, they're killer amps. I was kind of on the fence because I got an Ubershaw Rev Green, and I'm like, well, do I really want to keep this thing? And now at this point is the answer is totally yes. And I got to shoot these things out to see if I want to keep the Rev Green or just run this thing. All right, we'll see you later. Thanks.